Imagine waking up one day and realizing your favorite pair of jeans from 10 years ago simply won't close. Not because you've changed, well, maybe you have, but because something much bigger has shifted. Not just in your closet, but across entire nations. Clothes haven't gotten smaller. People have gotten bigger. And it's not just about willpower, laziness, or lack of exercise. It's about what's happening inside the body every time we eat a slice of bread, drink a soda, or finish a bowl of cereal. What if the very fuel we've been told to rely on for energy is actually the reason we're gaining weight, feeling sluggish, and struggling to stay healthy? For decades, we've been told that fat is the enemy. That to lose weight, we must cut fat, count calories, and load up on grains, pasta, and cereals, the so-called base of the food pyramid. But look around. Despite following this advice more than ever, obesity rates have skyrocketed. Not just in one country, but in industrialized nations across the globe. The average person today carries significantly more weight than their parents or grandparents did at the same age. And it's not just adults. Children are developing conditions once seen only in middle-aged adults: type 2 diabetes, fatty liver disease, high blood pressure. Something is deeply wrong with the way we eat. The answer might not be in willpower or gym memberships, but in a quiet, invisible process happening inside the liver. Every time you eat a meal rich in carbohydrates, whether it's a bagel, rice, chips, or even fruit juice, your body breaks it down into glucose, a simple sugar that cells use for energy. That's normal. But when you constantly flood your system with glucose, your body has to do something with the excess. It can't just leave it floating in the bloodstream, that would be toxic. So it turns to the liver, the body's chemical processing plant. The liver first stores some of that glucose as glycogen, a short-term reserve. But there's a limit to how much it can hold. Once that storage is full, the liver does something remarkable: it converts the leftover glucose into fat. Not dietary fat, but brand new fat, created from sugar. This process, called de novo lipogenesis, packages that fat into triglycerides and sends it out into the bloodstream, where it gets stored in fat cells throughout the body. These aren't just passive storage units, they're active, growing compartments, quietly expanding with every high-carb meal, every sugary drink, every snack that delivers a quick burst of energy followed by a crash. Think of it like a basement slowly filling up with boxes. At first, it's not a problem. But over time, the boxes pile up, the space gets tighter, and eventually, the basement overflows. That's what's happening in millions of bodies today. The basement stores of fat are no longer just a reserve for hard times. They've become permanent warehouses, growing year after year, decade after decade. And the main raw material feeding this expansion? Carbohydrates. Now, consider this. What did people eat before supermarkets, before processed foods, before breakfast cereals and protein bars and low-fat everything? Long before refrigerators and global supply chains, humans lived off what the land provided. Seasonal vegetables, roots, herbs, wild plants, nuts, and occasionally meat, usually in small amounts, often boiled into soups or stews. Grains were rare, and refined sugar didn't exist. There were no bagels, no pasta nights, no carb loading before workouts. The diet was naturally low and fast-digesting carbohydrates and high in fiber, which slows digestion and prevents blood sugar spikes. People didn't count calories. They didn't need to. They ate when food was available and stopped when they were full. And they weren't obese. In fact, large-scale obesity was almost unheard of until the last century. So what changed? The industrialization of food. The mass production of flour, sugar, and vegetable oils. The rise of convenience foods that are cheap, addictive, and engineered to keep us coming back for more. These foods don't just add calories, they disrupt the body's delicate metabolic balance. When you eat a high-carbohydrate meal, your pancreas releases insulin, the hormone that tells cells to absorb glucose from the blood. Insulin is essential, but when it's constantly elevated, because you're eating carbs every few hours, it starts to cause problems. Cells become less responsive to it, a condition known as insulin resistance. The pancreas tries to compensate by pumping out even more insulin, which only makes things worse. High insulin levels block the body's ability to burn fat. Instead, fat cells stay locked, storing energy but never releasing it. You feel hungry, tired, and bloated, even if you're technically overfed. This is the trap of the modern diet. You can be full of food and still starved of energy. Your cells are swimming in glucose, but they can't access it efficiently. So your brain sends hunger signals, urging you to eat again. And what do most people reach for? More carbs. Another snack. Another drink. Another quick fix. The cycle continues, day after day, year after year. But here's the fascinating part: the human body is incredibly adaptable. When carbohydrates are scarce, it doesn't shut down. It switches to a different fuel system. Instead of relying on glucose from food, it starts making its own. Deep within the liver, a process called gluconeogenesis kicks in, literally meaning the creation of new glucose. The body breaks down stored fat and even uses protein to produce the glucose the brain needs to function. At the same time, the liver produces ketones, an alternative fuel that many organs, including the brain, can use even more efficiently than glucose. This isn't a flaw. It's a survival mechanism built into our biology. Our ancestors survived famines, harsh winters, and long journeys without food because their bodies could switch from burning sugar to burning fat. They didn't need constant snacks or energy bars. They had access to their own internal reserves. And when they did eat, it was whole, unprocessed food: meat, fish, plants, nuts, none of which caused the kind of blood sugar chaos we see today. Now imagine what happens when you stop flooding your body with carbohydrates. When you replace bread with vegetables, soda with water, pasta with salad and healthy fats. At first, your body resists. It's used to running on sugar. But within days, something shifts. The liver begins tapping into fat stores. Insulin levels drop. Fat cells start releasing their contents. You feel more stable, more focused, less hungry. The constant cravings fade. You don't need to eat every few hours because your body is finally able to access its own energy supply. And the weight? It starts to come off, not because you're starving, but because you're finally allowing your body to do what it was designed to do. You're not fighting your metabolism. You're working with it. This isn't magic. It's biochemistry. And it's been observed, tested, and confirmed by people from all walks of life who have stepped away from the standard diet and discovered a different way of eating. They didn't do it because it was trendy. They did it because they were tired of being tired, of gaining weight, of feeling out of control. And when they changed their fuel, everything changed. But here's the real challenge: this way of eating goes against decades of official advice. We've been taught that fat is dangerous, that cholesterol will kill us, that we need grains for fiber and energy. But the evidence is mounting that the real culprit behind obesity, diabetes, and heart disease may not be fat at all, but the overconsumption of carbohydrates, especially in their most processed forms. It's time to rethink the foundation of our diets. Not with fads or extreme restrictions, but with a deeper understanding of how the body actually works. The liver isn't just a filter. It's a factory. The fat cell isn't just a storage unit. It's a dynamic part of your metabolism. And hunger isn't just about willpower, it's a signal from your body about what kind of fuel it's burning. When you eat a meal rich in fiber, protein, and natural fats, digestion slows down. Glucose enters the bloodstream gradually. Insulin rises only slightly. You stay full for hours. There's no crash, no craving, no need to snack. Your energy stays steady. Your mood improves. Your body begins to heal. Compare that to a breakfast of toast and orange juice, two foods that might seem healthy but deliver a massive spike of sugar. Within an hour, your blood sugar crashes. You feel tired, irritable, hungry. You reach for coffee, a muffin, maybe a candy bar. And the cycle starts again. This isn't a personal failure. It's a metabolic response. And it happens to millions of people every single day. The good news is that change is possible. You don't need a miracle. You don't need surgery or medication. You just need to understand the system you're working with. The body doesn't want to be fat. It doesn't want to be sick. It wants balance. It wants real food. It wants to burn fat when it needs to, and store it only when necessary. And it can do all of that, if we stop overwhelming it with sugar in disguise. If we stop treating carbohydrates as the centerpiece of every meal. If we return, even slightly, to the way humans ate for most of history, whole, simple, unprocessed foods that nourish rather than disrupt. The obesity epidemic isn't just about food. It's about knowledge. It's about recognizing that the body is not a simple, calories in, calories out, machine. It's a complex, intelligent system that responds to the quality of fuel, not just the quantity. And when we give it the right fuel, low in refined carbs, high in nutrients, rich in natural fats and fiber, it responds with energy, clarity, and health. So the next time you reach for that slice of cake, that bag of chips, that sugary drink, ask yourself, is this feeding me, or is it filling my basement with more boxes? Because the body remembers every bite. And over time, those bites add up, not just in weight, but in how you feel, how you think, how you live. The solution isn't deprivation. It's awareness. It's choosing foods that work with your body, not against it. It's trusting that you don't need constant sugar to survive, that you have a powerful, ancient system inside you, ready to run on fat, ready to thrive, if only you'd let it. If you made it this far, take a moment to think about what you've just learned, not from a diet guru, not from a trend, but from the quiet, powerful science of your own body. This isn't about quick fixes or extreme rules. It's about understanding. About asking why we've been getting heavier, sicker, and more tired, even as we try harder than ever to eat right. Maybe it's time to stop blaming ourselves and start listening to our biology. Because the truth is, your body isn't broken. It's doing exactly what it was designed to do: store fat when there's too much sugar, burn fat when sugar runs low. The real problem isn't you. It's the fuel you've been given. So if you're ready to feel different, to have steady energy, fewer cravings, and a body that finally works with you instead of against you, start small. Swap one carb-heavy meal for something real. Something simple. See how you feel. And when you do, come back and let us know in the comments. And if this opened your eyes, if it made you rethink what you thought you knew about food and weight, hit that like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who's tired of fighting their own body. Because real change starts not with a miracle, but with a message. And this one's worth passing on.